Good afternoon, viewers and listeners of Concerned Citizens Media. Thank you again for coming back. As always, I enjoy sharing news with you. Today is September the 10th, 2022. I have several news to share in reading and others from different media outlet on YouTube. So welcome back, and the war still continue. I will start with U.S. State Department briefing, in case you missed it, but it's a couple of days ago. Still they are, calling for cessation of hostilities to end this war through dialogue. What Abiy Ahmed supporters did last time in DC, calling on United States not to deal with Tigray region forces, calling TPLF as a terrorist organization, and calling US to stop supporting terrorism. So that's I already commented on that one. That is a disrespect to the United States, to their effort, to whatever they are doing in Ethiopia, whether through the humanitarian aid and through diplomatic missions. So that's a disrespect. And Hermela Aragawi and Naaman Zaleka and those, core supporters of Abiy Ahmed, So let's listen what he said, then I will continue other news too. Here we go.
Special Envoy Hammer's travel to Ethiopia, so just wanted to offer a brief update for you all on that. The U.S. continues to be deeply concerned about renewed fighting in Ethiopia. Special Envoy for the Horn of Africa, Mike Hammer, met in Addis Ababa September 5th through 6th with Deputy Prime Minister, with the Foreign Minister, and the National Security Advisor to discuss the urgency of immediate cessation of hostilities and going to peace talks under the African Union's auspices. Special Envoy Hammer delivered the same message to the TPLF chairman, and we have condemned the TPLF offensive outside of Tigray, the Ethiopian government's airstrikes and ground offensive, and Eritrea's re-entry into the conflict. In the coming days, as part of the ongoing diplomatic effort, Assistant Secretary for African Affairs Molly Fee, Special Envoy Hammer, and other U.S. diplomats will be consulting with the African Union, as well as key actors in the region, the UN, the EU, and UK envoys. Our goal is to mobilize diplomatic efforts to press the government and the TPLF to halt immediately their military offensives and for Eritrea to withdraw to its borders. There is no military solution to this conflict. The only path forward is for the parties to pursue a negotiated settlement through peace talks. The Ethiopian people have suffered tremendously from this conflict. As the largest donor, the U.S. is committed to continuing to provide its life-saving humanitarian assistance to those in need affected by the resumption of conflict. It is important to note that we remain concerned by the negative impact of conflict and drought in other regions of Ethiopia. Let me restate again that the U.S. commitment to Ethiopia's unity, sovereignty, and territorial integrity, and our conviction that only through a lasting peace will the Ethiopian people have an opportunity to achieve the prosperity they desire and deserve. So with that, I'm happy to take your questions. Daphne, if you want to start.
Okay. Okay, I will come back to that video as Tunisia protesters against the arrest of journalists in their country. They are not silent like Ethiopians. In Ethiopia, multiple times journalists and politicians, ordinary citizens just kidnapped by Abiy Ahmed under cover operatives, but Ethiopians are silent. So so you heard about U.S. State Department briefing and U.S. stand in this war and the U.S. policy when it comes to Ethiopia. It's clearly, repeatedly said that the United States is calling for peaceful resolution for this war, and they are, support the unity, territorial integrity, and the sovereignty of Ethiopia. So it's not like Abiy Ahmed and Harmal Aragoi and Naaman Zalaka try to, paint the United States as like waging a war against Ethiopia or against Africa, supporting terrorism. So that is, we should condemn it. I think today, Tigrayans in the diaspora community, they have something in DC, I think. I didn't get that video. I think they have a demonstration. They called for a demonstration against this war and against those supporting Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, falsely accusing the United States as supporting terrorism and waging a war against Ethiopia, where everything is clear. They are helping us financially, helping us diplomatically to settle our conflict in a peaceful manner. So the war is very ugly in these 2 weeks. Very, very ugly, very ugly. Ethio 360, Ermias Legacy, citing his own resources, he said Ethiopians never died in a large number. They died in these 2 weeks. Many lives lost. Many lost their hands, their legs, and other body parts. So Ermias Legacy, citing his resources, said, "We never seen a human massacre in this war before. Many times, and the victims are children from poor family. The Prosperity Party officials and their family members are enjoying. They are not paying the price in this war." He said the Prime Minister children are already in a safe zone. In a safe zone. They are not sacrificing in this war. They are not paying any price. Who are paying the heavy price? Children from poor family who have no other choices or no other job opportunities. They are tricked into this war and they are, paying heavy price. He said in both sides, whether in Tigray side and all this Ethiopian side. I mean the federal army, the militia, the Amara Fano, all of them. These are future generations just sacrificing for the seat of prime minister or for the seat of Prosperity Party officials. Nothing else, nothing for the country, nothing. The bloodshed is heavy toll on poor families. They are suffering, and some of them forced, some of them tricked to fight in this war. But the death toll, the injuries is unimaginable. And he also said, Ermias Legace on Ethio 360 media, he also said there is a devil in Arat Kilo, which is equivalent like the White House. There is a devil that cannot survive without the bloodshed. That's why we see the continued bloodshed in that country. So as long as that devil is in that Arat Kilo, there will not be a chance for peace. So really is painful, and there are some encouragement from civil society, and also yesterday or before yesterday, the women marched against war in Addis Ababa. These are the encouraging signs. Ethiopians are suffering through inflation and unemployment, high unemployment, international diplomacy. So, but for some reason, the majority are still silent. They are not challenging Prosperity Party. They are not challenging. They are suffering. And I was listening to different holiday shopping. The price is really extremely high. I don't know how they're gonna afford to buy chicken or goats, sheep. I don't know. That's very expensive, the price they are saying. But they are still silent. What happened in Sudan? Just a little bit price on bread. They are still protesting. But Ethiopians, for some reason, we don't know. So that's very disappointing, very sad, ongoing bloodshed. Oil is also continue its operation, coming to major cities slowly. So let's continue reading different materials I have for today. Then we'll come to the Tunisia protesters and also King Charles III taking the throne after Queen Elizabeth passed away at 96 a couple of days ago. So I have that video too. Thank you again. Let me read this one. Ethiopia rebels call for conditional truce. Tigray rebels have proposed a conditional truce in the war in northern Ethiopia, a spokesman for the group said Friday, as fresh fighting forced a halt to aid deliveries in the stricken Tigray region. The resumption of fighting last month shattered a March truce with frantic diplomatic efforts now underway to find a peaceful resolution to the nearly 2-year war. In a letter sent to the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres dated Wednesday, the leader of the Tigray People's Liberation Front, Debretsion Gebremichael, called for a conditional cessation of hostilities as fighting escalates on multiple fronts. According to a copy of the letter seen by AFP, confirmed by TPLF spokesman Getachew Reda, Debretsion said the truce would depend on 4 conditions, including unfettered humanitarian access and the restoration of essential service in Tigray. Ethiopia's northernmost region has suffered severe food shortages and limited access to basic services, including electricity, communications, and banking. The violence has also hit access to aid in the neighboring Amhara region. Fighting erupted around Tigray's southeastern border on August 24, but has since spread along the region's southern border to area west and north of the initial clashes. A diplomatic source and a foreign source told AFP on Thursday that fighting had intensified along Tigray's northern border, with pro-government forces and troops from the neighboring Eritrea, which backed Ethiopia's army in the early stage of the war, targeting rebel positions. AFP was not able to independently verify the claims. Access to northern Ethiopia is severely restricted, and Tigray has been under a communication blackout for over a year. Eritrean forces. Debretsion also called for the withdrawal of Eritrean forces from every part of Ethiopia and Tigrayan territory under international monitoring to position in which they can no longer pose any threat to us. He also asked the Security Council to ensure the withdrawal of troops from western Tigray, a disputed region claimed by Amhara and Tigrayans that has been occupied by Amhara forces since the war erupted, triggering large-scale displacement and U.S. warning of ethnic cleansing. There was no response. There was no response from the Ethiopian government to the letter. The uptick in violence has sparked international concern, with the U.S. envoy to the Horn of Africa, Mike Hammer, extending his stay in Ethiopia, according to diplomatic sources. The warring sides have traded blame for starting the latest round of hostilities. The war erupted in November 2020 when Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed sent troops to topple the TPLF, the regime's former ruling party, saying the move came in response to attack by the group on army camps. So that is Tigray region's president calling for conditional cessation on the hostilities and for the withdrawal of Eritrean forces. Eritreans are officially heavily engaged in this war with the help of Ethiopian army. Credit for this one, TUKO, Digital Media News, citing AFP. So that's the situation. And Eritrea is not helping. Eritrea is again involving in the bloodshed and more atrocities in Tigray region because they didn't pay any price for the last crimes they committed. They didn't pay. So why they care? They have to repeat it again. If they caught accountable for that past crimes, they could not do it now. But since there is no accountability, they will continue the war. This is the one, I am encouraged the voice of concerned citizens in Ethiopia, at least try to show up through civil society. And now the woman, according to Addis standard, the woman in Addis Ababa, in the capital city of Ethiopia, marched against the war and they call for peaceful resolution, which is a good sign. Others must join before humanity will end in Ethiopia. They have to challenge Prosperity Party. I know the security forces and the undercover operatives are active, kidnapping journalists, kidnapping individuals who are speaking against the government. They are very active. He controls everything. But if the majority come out, they can resist it, like last time, before 2018. When you are coming in the mass, nothing can do. Yes, but if you are coming one by one, he can kidnap you, put you in underground torture center. I reported last time in Oromia region. He can take you anywhere, or Awash Arba. He can do whatever, one by one. But if you are coming together, saying no to the war, no to the Prosperity Party power, no to their failed leadership, you can do it collectively, like Sudanese or like Tunisians now. Okay, let me read. Women march in capital adds to growing call for peace in Ethiopia. A peace rally was held in Addis Ababa on Thursday, August 8, organized by three women-centered indigenous civil society organizations based in Ethiopia. The March for Peace adds up to the rare yet growing calls from non-state actors calling for an end and a peaceful resolution to the ongoing civil war in Ethiopia. That's a very good news, encouraging news. Others should join them, should wake up before too late. Several women organized by Network of Ethiopian Women's Association (NEWA), the Strategic Initiative for Women in the Horn of Africa (SIHA) network, and Timran marched the capital carrying banners with messages of peace, the role of women in peace, as well as condemning war-related rape and sexual assault against women. Some of the messages in the banners read, "No disagreement has ever found solution through war. Woman's body is not a battlefield, and war is not an instrument of development but of death, hunger, migration, and destruction." Very strong message. This is the second call for peace in Ethiopia in as many days, echoed by local civic organizations after a group of 35 local CSOS issued a statement on September 7 calling for immediate peace in Ethiopia, restoration of basic services provision in Tigray and other conflict-hit areas, investigations and accountability to war-related crimes being committed in Ethiopia, and an end to the ethnic-based violence and discrimination in various parts of the country, among others. Last week, both the Ethiopian Teachers Association and the Ethiopian Civil Societies Organization Coalition (ECSOC) called for de-escalation and an immediate return to cessation of hostilities after the resumption of militarized hostilities between Federal Defense Forces and Tigrayan forces. The association said that the war would bring nothing to Ethiopia except for poverty and generational rifts, while the coalition warned that it would bear massive consequences for civilians, especially vulnerable segments of the population, namely children, disabled persons, the elderly, and women in the affected areas. The resumption of the militarized hostilities on 24 August has already been condemned by the Ethiopian Human Rights Commission, multiple countries and institutions, and their leaders, including the United States, Turkey, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres, and AU Chairperson Moussa Faki, who have raised concern in regard to the situation and stressed a resumption of peace talks. Some names are challenging, so please understand in that way. Okay. Despite widespread calls, however, the war has continued in the backdrop of absence of independently verifiable report, thanks to Addis standard. So this is encouraging sign. Women's coming against the war, teachers coming, raising their voice against the war and calling for peaceful resolution. These are encouraging signs. These are the challenges. Teachers are also challenging on inflation and on salaries, as I reported before. Abiy Ahmed slowly, Prosperity Party slowly they will face stiff resistance. Stiff resistance. It's a matter of time. Slowly they will come to you. And your security forces, the federal forces, and your undercover operatives will not stop these masses. If they're determined to come out, you will fail. This one is Ethiopia's strong statement against United Nations experts. Very strong, very angry statement from Ethiopia Foreign Minister. Let me read. Ethiopia rejects United Nations experts' call for United Nations Security Council meeting as ultra virus blatant caution. It forces it forecloses all doors of cooperation. That's a warning against you and United Nations. If you do this, we will stop. We will close the door on a possible cooperation. That's a threat. You can't do nothing. You can't do nothing. In such a policy, in this continued war, everywhere, your ending is coming soon. The Ethiopian Ministry of Foreign Affairs said it was dismayed by the statement of the International Commission of Human Rights Experts on Ethiopia and rejected it as ultra-virus and a blatant call for action against Ethiopia by the Security Council. Ethiopia also accused the Commission of having weaponized human rights for political pressure and said its latest statement exposed its true intention for closing all doors of cooperation with the government. The ministry's statement was in response to the members of the UN-appointed International Commission of Human Rights experts calling for the UN Security Council to keep Ethiopia and the Horn of Africa situation on its agenda, given the gravity of the situation. The Commission has no competence or proper appreciation of the conflict triggered by the TPLF in violation of the humanitarian truce. The Commission cannot arrogate to it is a mandate to pronounce on matters of threat to peace and security, the ministry said, and rejected the Commission's call as ultra-virus and blatant call for action against Ethiopia by the Security Council. The ministry also lashed out at the Commission for showing a reckless behavior and vindicates the government assertion that the resolution establishing the Commission and the works of the Commission are politically motivated. It's a lot of accusation. The ministry concluded that while rejecting the statement made by the Commission, the ministry would like to reiterate the commitment of the government of Ethiopia to continue respecting and ensuring respect for human rights and bringing violators to justice. These are nice words, but nothing practical. Nothing practical. You don't respect human rights. Maaza Muhammad and Gobaze Sisai. Gobaze Sisai arrested for the second time, and Maaza Muhammad, these are journalists. Maaza Muhammad is also arrested for the third time. This is not respecting human rights. These individuals, these journalists, others exposed to Abiy Ahmed undercover operatives just for expressing or revealing, their concern about Ethiopia or about citizens. So they can say whatever. Prosperity's party, they can say whatever statement they like. But in practical terms, nobody accounted for. They can arrest anybody. They can arrest journalists, politicians, ordinary citizens for expressing concern. The country belongs to more than 100 million people. The country not only belong to Prosperity Party. They should understand this. They should understand this. You know, they think they own Ethiopia. They think they can do whatever they want to do because they have the bank and the tanks. Everything is in their hand. The military is a yes man. The bank is a yes man. The federal police is a yes man. Regional governments are, all of them are yes man and yes woman. And the justice system, all of them. Nobody is challenging Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed and his prosperity agenda. People are suffering. Ethiopians are suffering because of that. You know, he could have been removed long time ago. But okay, this one is President Joe Biden extending the executive order, the sanction he put on Ethiopia. So he extend beyond September 2021. So let me read what it says. U.S. President Joe Biden has extended his September 2021 executive order imposing sanctions on certain persons with respect to the humanitarian and the human rights crisis in Ethiopia. Although the sanction is a year old, the U.S. government has not made the names of sanctions officials public. I don't know why. Should have been officials. They should have been put Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, Demek Emakonnen, Isaias Afwerki, President, Eritrea, and the other. I don't know why they keep. And also the United States is still holding the report for some reason. I don't know. Maybe they scare Ethiopia and Eritrea might be taken by Chinese or some reason. They have the report. They are holding it. All what happened in Tigray region and Amara region, all the genocide, rapes, they have the report. It's already, Secretary Blinken promised to release it. Still, no, he didn't. Still holding it. In 09 September, letter to the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Nancy Pelosi, and the President of the Senate, Patrick Leahy, on the continuation of the national emergency with respect to Ethiopia, President Biden announced that the Executive Order 14046 of September 17, 2021 is to continue in effect beyond September 17, 2022. Beyond, so it's continue. The situation in and in relation to northern Ethiopia has been marked by activities that threaten the peace, security, and stability of Ethiopia and the greater Horn of Africa region. In particular, widespread violence, atrocities, and serious human rights abuse, including those involving ethnic-based violence, rape, and other forms of gender-based violence and obstruction of humanitarian operations, continues to pose an unusual and extraordinary threat to the national security and foreign policy of the United States. Therefore, I have determined that it is necessary to continue the national emergency declared in Executive Order 14046 with respect to Ethiopia. The full text providing Biden's reason for extension of the sanction regime stated. Among the multiple restrictions stated in the presidential executive order is a section authorized the Secretary of the Treasury to impose sanctions, including blocking all property and interests in property on individuals who threaten the peace security, or stability of Ethiopia, or that have the purpose of or effect of expanding or extending the crisis in northern Ethiopia or obstructing a ceasefire or a peace process. The sanctions regime extend to those individuals who are deemed political subdivision, agency, or instrumentality of the government of Ethiopia, the government of Eritrea, or its ruling People's Front for Democracy and Justice, the Tigray People's Liberation Front, the Amara Regional Government, or the Amara Regional or Irregular Forces. All these are mentioned, and maybe the State Department, the Treasury Department, they know, even though they didn't mention the names of these individuals in an official manner. I don't know why they keep it secret. But anyway, the executive order, the sanction of unnamed officials still continue beyond September 2022. That is the State Department. Here we go. This is also a press statement from U.S. State Department. Transmission of the President's report to Congress on proposed refugee admission for fiscal year 2023. The United States is and will continue to be a global leader in international humanitarian response, including through refugee resettlement. We have prioritized rebuilding and strengthening the U.S. Refugee Admission Program, USRAP, in a strategic, sustainable way that positions the program on a durable foundation for the future and modernizes the program to the responsive to evolving needs and opportunities. This includes efforts to expand opportunities for Americans to engage directly in resettlement, including through a private sponsorship pilot program that will launch later this year. Over the past fiscal year, we also have taken steps to increase the resettlement of members of particularly vulnerable populations through USRAP, including refugees from the Americas, Congolese, Syrians, Ukrainians, population from Burma, and many other nationalities, as well as LGBTQI plus persons, all while providing additional initial resettlement support to more than 80,000 Afghans in communities across the United States, the largest resettlement effort we have undertaken in 40 years. Yesterday, the Department of State, together with the Department of Homeland Security, DHS, and Health and Human Services, HHS, transmitted the President's report to Congress on proposed refugee admissions for fiscal year 2023 to the committees on the judiciary of the House of Representatives and the Senate. The report to Congress recommends a refugee admission target of 125,000 for fiscal year 2023 to address the growing needs generated by humanitarian crises around the globe, including more than 100 million displaced persons around the world. So 125,000 admission target for fiscal year 2023. It looks like smaller, but still. Next, together with DHS and HHS, the Secretary will consult with Congress about the President's proposed presidential determination of refugee admission for fiscal year 2023. Through the U.S. Refugee Resettlement Program, our government, civil society, and private sector partners, state and local officials, and Americans in communities throughout the country demonstrate day in and day out the generosity and core values of our nation. The United States will continue to provide a safe haven and opportunity to the world's most vulnerable. So that's good for the violence victims and for other uh, looking to resettle in the United States. Okay, then I have a New Year message for Ethiopians, for those celebrating Ethiopian New Year's 2015 is start tomorrow, I think. So I will read that one at the end of the videos. Let's listen to the videos. And the first one is, as I said, Tunisian protesters challenging the government, protesting against the government for arresting journalists. Arresting journalists. Arresting journalists is a strategy everywhere to shut down public voice. That's why Abiy Ahmed is very sensitive against this independent media. He only okay with pro-government media like Fana, OBN, Walta, Ethiopian ABC, and the Amara Regional TV. These media do not tell us or accept government propaganda. So he won't like that. That's why he arrested independent media journalists like Gobazé Sisai, Maza Muhammad, and others. He cannot tolerate. He wants to silence the voice. He wants to be a dictatorship anyway, like Isaias Afwerki. Let's listen.
The arrest and detention of a journalist and activist earlier this week by the Tunisian authorities has led to massive protest in the capital Tunis on Friday. Ghassan Ben Khalifa, the editor of a website known as Iniaz and a prominent pro-Palestinian activist, was arrested at his home on Tuesday on suspicion of terrorism. The arrest of our colleague Ghassan Ben Khalifa was on the basis of the anti-terrorism law, but everyone knows Ghassan Ben Khalifa is a progressive, an activist and a journalist who defends the democratic state and not the terrorists. Civil society groups have warned of a return to the methods used by security services under autocrat Zine El Abidine Ben Ali, who was overthrown in the 2011 revolt that sparked the Arab Spring uprisings. Respect for any opinion of any citizen, whether he is against or for the authorities, this is our demand. The authorities today respect the freedom of expression by word for a good image at the international level, not by facts. Today the arrests and the threats are multiplying and we will not keep silent anymore. Tunisia has seen a spike in prosecutions of journalists, including in military courts, since President Kais Saied seized wide-ranging powers in a dramatic move against parliament last year.
My lords, ladies and gentlemen, it is my most sorrowful duty to announce to you the death of my beloved mother, the Queen. I know how deeply you,
King Charles
the entire nation, and I think I may say the whole world, sympathize with me in the irreparable loss we've all suffered. It is the greatest consolation to me to know of the sympathy expressed by so many to my sister and brothers, and that such overwhelming affection and support should be extended to our whole family in our loss. To all of us as a family, as to this kingdom and the wider family of nations of which it is a part, my mother gave an example of lifelong love and of selfless service. My mother's reign was unequaled in its duration, its dedication, and its devotion. Even as we grieve, we give thanks for this most faithful life. I am deeply aware of this great inheritance and of the duties and heavy responsibilities of sovereignty, which have now passed to me. In taking up these responsibilities, I shall strive to follow the inspiring example I have been set in upholding constitutional government and to seek the peace, harmony, and prosperity of the peoples of these islands and of the Commonwealth realms and territories throughout the world. In this purpose, I know that I shall be upheld by the affection and loyalty of the peoples whose sovereign I have been called upon to be, and that in the discharge of these duties, I will be guided by the counsel of their elected parliaments. In all this, I am profoundly encouraged by the constant support of my beloved wife. I take this opportunity to confirm my willingness and intention to continue the tradition of surrendering the hereditary revenues, including the Crown Estate, to my government for the benefit of all, in return for the sovereign grant which supports my official duties as head of state and head of nation. And in carrying out the heavy task that has been laid upon me, and to which I now dedicate what remains to me of my life, I pray for the guidance and help of Almighty God.
I have with humble duty to crave your Majesty's permission for the publication of your gracious speech.
Approved.
Concerning the security of the Church of Scotland.
I understand that the law requires that I should, at my accession to the Crown, take and subscribe the oath relating to the security of the Church of Scotland. I am ready to do so at this first opportunity. I, Charles III, by the grace of God of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, and of my other realms and territories, King, Defender of the Faith, do faithfully promise and swear that I shall inviolably maintain and preserve the settlement of the true Protestant religion as established by the laws made in Scotland in prosecution of the claim of right, and particularly by an act intituled An Act for Securing the Protestant Religion and Presbyterian Church Government, and by the acts passed in the Parliament of both kingdoms for union of the two kingdoms, together with the government, worship, discipline, rights and privileges of the Church of Scotland. So help me God.
Okay, that's all the videos I want to share with you. The first video was on Tunisians protesting, as I said, against the arrest of independent journalists, and Tunisia slowly becoming a dictator. They changed the constitution, after Arab revolution. This guy came, now he is changing. That's not a good sign. And arresting journalists is not a good sign. He will try to be a dictator. But Tunisians are raising their voice. That's that's a good example for Ethiopians. To watch what the other world is doing. Ethiopians are facing a bloody war, facing heavy inflation, facing high unemployment, and lack of opportunity, really. Nothing. The young generation has no future. Has no future. And diplomatic cut. Ethiopia doesn't have good relationship with the world, except Eritrea. So many problems, continued bloodshed, continued hate against each other, and they are still silent, and they are, enjoying this prosperity propaganda. Forget about anything. We can export, grains, and we don't need international aid. We can, help ourselves while the people are dying. How many millions cattle died of hunger and starvation? How many people are dying? And Ethiopians should wake up. I know, as I said, the women who protested in Addis Ababa, that's a good sign. The teachers union and other civil organizations, that's a good sign. Please keep it up. Others must join to end the suffering, the ongoing suffering under Abiy Ahmed leadership or under Prosperity Party. And this guy is not like former Prime Minister Hailemariam Desalegn. He's not like that. This guy will continue until he himself remain on the land. He don't care about the bloodshed. He don't care about the poor children dying in this conflict. He don't care about Ethiopian suffering, continued suffering, whether through high unemployment or lack of other opportunities, inflation. He doesn't care. He doesn't care. So Ethiopians should care for themselves, unite, and come out, resist the system. In that way, they can shorten the bloodshed or end the bloodshed and make that country better country for all of us. Let me read. This is a short one paragraph. A New Year message from Concerned Citizens Media. Message for the Ethiopian New Year 2015. So they are finishing 2014, and the New Year is coming up. Concerned Citizens Media wish this upcoming New Year 2015 a year of freedom, justice, peace, and genuine prosperity to all who are celebrating it. Let it be a year of truthfulness, friendship, love, caring, and the closure of this endless war among Ethiopians. Concerned Citizens Media also wish to see the end of Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed and his Prosperity Party failed leadership that trapped Ethiopia and the Ethiopians into hate and endless bloodshed. Let it be the year of justice for all the victims and their families. Let it be the year of accountability for all the killings, like for the killing of artist Hachalu Hundessa, lawyer Abdul Jabbar Hussein, engineer Simon Bayene, General Saar Mekonnen, and others. Let it be justice for them. And let it be justice for rape victims and to all who suffered other grave human rights violation under Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed and his Prosperity Party leadership. So that is a strong message from Concerned Citizens Media. What I want to see in 2015. End to the war, into this failed leadership, and freedom, justice, caring, and a good relationship in that country, and a genuine prosperity. All this can happen if the Ethiopians come together, resist the system, say no to the war, say no to the inflation, say no to these continued lies from Prosperity Party, the generals, the officials, all of them, they lie. They don't care. Why? No accountability. They don't lose power. They can say whatever they want to say and they stay in power. That is because of Ethiopians' weakness. They can use the constitution. The constitution is right there. The people has a right. The people has a right to demonstrate, to challenge the government. But the atmosphere is filled with fear of security forces and these undercover operatives. But they should come out together, and like those women and like those teachers union, they should come out and say to Abiy Ahmed leadership and remove him from Arat Kilo and his devil from that Arat Kilo. Then Ethiopia will have peace. And so I also express, concerned citizens media, express condolences on Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth on her passing at 96, and wish the family, the friends, and all those fans of Elizabeth, Queen Elizabeth, around the world comfort and strength at this challenging time, and good luck, King Charles III, success on the throne, taking her place. So that's all I'm going to say for today. Thank you for sharing your time with me. Please be safe, and so long, everyone.